All right, welcome back to the second video in this new endeavor of mine, which is building pedals. Just to help, if it helps, and if it doesn't, well, sorry. But anyways, today, the first, it's a contrast thing. The first was the Jetspeds Fred, which is absolutely fun, and an update to that. I ended up purchasing another ceramic capacitor online and just getting it shipped and then installed it from the top. And, boom, it's done. It's completed. Excellent. It sounds amazing. No complaints either way. So, but today, Mass Effects, MAS, Mark A. Stratman, Mass Effects. I'm a big fan of Mr. Stratman and his attention to detail, which is the huge factor of me continuing to purchase from him. And today, I'm actually building a couple of kits for Christmas. They are ornaments. They are his ornament kits. Mass Effects Holiday. This one happens to be the SnowMan Distortion effect kit. And it's sealed, and it comes just like this. The board is on this side of a poster card, and then all the components are individually wrapped, they're grouped together and wrapped, and they're back behind so the board doesn't get damaged. And all I did was print out the instructions, because that's how I roll, and then much to my surprise, all of the components are already labeled. See that right there? Already labeled. C1, R1, R3, and LEDs. Already shows you the measurements. Yeah, C3, C4, C5, R3. So basically, everything that you saw me do with a multimeter on the first episode is already done for you with Mr. Stratman. Mass Effects. There's the IC, the integrated chip. There's this socket and the diodes. You got our input and our output. What I'm guessing is a volume and battery connector, because that's how it works, is by battery. And then you have this awesome sauce little board. This is obviously the back, and that is the front. Isn't that adorable? His nose is the LED, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it turns on or blinks or something like that, and I think all three of these are, but we shall see. And then there's also a red ribbon to go through, which I'm guessing is going to be up here, up top. I don't know. So I went ahead and printed out the instructions, and I thought, well, hey, why don't we build this and see how much easier it is when everything's already done for us, and how much time it doesn't take to go through. All right. So according to the instructions, which are extremely useful and can be found on the product page of the website, which is Mass Effects, MASEFFECTS. There's your materials. So the B100K is gain. Okay, so it's not a volume. That's a gain. Okay, cool. So now I know. Orange for the nose, white for midsection buttons. Okay, so the nose is going to be orange and white. Two whites. The gain is a 9mm potentiometer. Yep, we already showed that. Battery cable. Got the ribbon. Printed circuit board. All of our pieces. Pretty awesome. Look at that schematic. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? The circuit analysis. That's cool. Very cool. Preface for beginners. Nearly all problems people face when building kits such as this comes from either placing components in the wrong spots or with the wrong orientation or bad solder joints, just like we talked about before. Leave the components in the bags until you're ready to use them. Read this build instruction document. I will make notes about polarity and orientation of the diodes, electrolytic capacitors, and transistors. These are very important to follow. Take your time. How to solder. He even has your how to solder video that he has on his website. And there's also a book. I got it for Rusty. So we're just going to go through it. See, step 1, resistors. Step 2, diodes. Step 3, op amp, which is the integrated circuit chip. And it is Texas Instruments, baby. Texas for the win. Non-polarized capacitors. Polarized capacitors. And look, I mean, it even tells you. Look at that. There's a picture. Right? You got your picture. You got your orientation. You tell them the longer leg and the symbol for the plus. So this is the positive, that is the negative. This is easy to understand for anyone. This is what I highly suggest for any beginners. Any beginners. Look at that. LED, longer leg, goes into the positive. Boom. One picture says it all. I mean, it's just outstanding. What orientation the gain control goes in. Battery, or excuse me, not the batteries, the input and output jacks. How to do the battery. The hanger and the battery strap. So the ribbon. Oh, sorry. No, the hanger and battery strap. Okay. Okay. It's saying the battery. Negative cable is what it looks like. But this looks like the positive. Share with family, friends, family, and bandmates. Post online. mass-effects.com. Pretty awesome. So that is exactly what we are going to do, is run through this bad boy, starting on step 1 after all the instructions and everything else. Boom. We're going to start on the resistors. Isn't it lovely? I tell you, I'm a fan. Mark A. Stratman for president. Typically easiest to populate the circuit board from the shortest to the tallest components. We have talked about that on the previous episode. Resistors sit very low to the board, so we start with those. Done. You may find it easy to bend the legs 90 degrees from the body, etc., etc., etc. Orientation doesn't matter. Resistors can be inserted in either direction. That's non-polarized. There you go. Diodes, however, are polarized. That's why we see that little black stripe is in the orientation of this void, that little indicator. They are polarized. Cathode is the black stripe. Orientation of the integrated circuit chip. See the notch going up here, the little notch going there, going there. I mean, the only way you can mess up is by not paying attention at all. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I will be right back once we have done the resistors. All right, now we have our 10 resistors, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and we have them in and bent legs. So now they are ready to solder in place and then clip. And we are going to do just that right now. I'm going to try my best to make There we have our resistors. SnowMan looks pretty good. I really like the way it starts to look with the components in the back. Everything's flat. No complaints. Moving on to the diodes. Right. So with the diodes, they are these itty bitty guys. As you can see, you've got the black stripe, or the cathode, right there, right? And with these, with the board, you can see they go right here under D1 and D2. You can also see this tiny little strip right there indicated. That's your, meaning the cathode goes this way on this D1 and the cathode goes this way on D2. Now with these, what I like to do is, since that's obviously, oops, there we go, since it's obviously much smaller, is you can take it and look to see just about how much space you're going to need to bend to make it evenly in there. And it's just that's an aesthetics thing. But for me, I like doing that. And so you can see on this example, I've already got it bent to where it will fit properly right in here. You gotta be careful not to crush the diode, as these feel like they're glass and they will break very easily. But at the end of the day, you got something like that to solder in, and it looks epic to me. So what I do on this is I will take the diode, I will go up to the glass, and then push with my finger down to make that 90-degree bend. Same on this side. Just again, be careful, because it will break. I have cracked diodes and it sucks, and especially trying to find a place that carries the right values in today's society is a difficult thing for the most part. Nevertheless, do it right and you prevail. All right, next we move on to our op amp, or our integrated circuit chip and socket. Yep, the U1 orientation matters. Have circle cut out on the top of the op amp and socket indicate the side with pins 1 and 8. Some op amps may instead have a small off-centered circle next to the pin number 1. The following pictures shows the correct orientation. The half circle and dot should be on the same side. Yeah, okay. Yep. And congratulations, we've gotten through to our first empty bag. Now, all that set aside, you can see, there we go. Let's get the, you see the little circle, which means this is pin 1, which means the orientation is going to be like that for facing upward. But you can also see that this is a 95 A8XXM, and it is an LM358P chip. Yeah, looks like you can see it. If you can't, well, sorry. Now, when it comes to soldering, you do not solder with this into the socket. No bueno. It makes no worky, and we don't like no worky. We like worky. So, you're going to take the socket, and of course orientation matters, and this is a great example of what I was talking about, when sometimes things get kind of shuffled around and pins get all weird. Fix this first, and it doesn't require a lot of arm strength. It requires finesse. I cannot stress how important this part is. And I've only learned this from doing it, and I haven't messed up any chips, but I've gotten dangerously close, and I thought I did. And so that kind of makes a huge difference to a guy like me. Now, you can see on the circuit board right here under U1, you can see where the little dot is up. That's pin 1. You can see on the, oh, watch out, Chippy. There you go. You can see on the orientation that little notch right there. So that means that's pin 1. So we're going to take this. We're quite literally going to place it directly into all 8 holes, pressing down. Then when we turn it over, I like to make sure it's fully seated on whatever surface that it's going to be on. And we're going to pin or stake 5, so the opposite ends. Pin those with some solder, and then pick it up, look at it, make sure, and if it needs to be pushed, if it needs to be pushed in, we're going to move that out of the way. That'd be great. If it needs to be pushed in further to seat levelly, or to seat evenly, then we can quite literally push up on the socket and then hit the staking points with the soldering iron, loosening up the solder, pushing and cooling, and yada yada. So we do that now. Okay. Let's let that cool for a minute. I don't want to melt that socket. All right, we have let the integrated circuit chip socket cool off. Everything's good to go, and then the integrated circuit chip has been inserted in the proper manner, in which you can see that little circle goes towards the dip. The dip is up at the top. That is correct. Now we're going to move on to the non-polarized capacitors, which are C1 through 3 right here. They're going to be 2 box capacitors and 1 ceramic capacitor. And those, if you want to know where they are, C1 is here, C2 is here, and C3 is there. So, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. But it matters, not necessarily about the C3 being in here. So we can go ahead and bring that one out. But it matters if you're not going to use a multimeter, not to mix these up. Because if you mix them up, you're probably going to put the wrong measurement in the incorrect space. So this guy, that is C3 PO, and I like putting the identifier, the little number, where I can read it. So on the outside, I just kind of bend them like this a little bit and get an orientation of how it's going to actually sit, and then bend it again into place. Something like that. Oof. A little much. There we go. There we go. Pretty close to the board, as you can see, but it is staying in its own lane. So I like doing that. That's me. If you don't, that's fine. Again, this is just showing you how to run this kit and how I go about it. Now, what I do like to do is not work over myself, so I wouldn't put C2 in and then try to knock out C1. I'm going to put C1 in first. I do that on purpose because, again, I've built not a ton of pedals, but I've built enough pedals to know where my difficulties personally lay when you got tiny components and large fingers. Or larger fingers, I guess I should say. Not as large as many. Okay, let's see. Well, now these guys are listed on the top. So I'm going to keep those in the orientation of the labeling on the pedal board. Again, just bend those down. There you go. And one more, the C2. And it looks like we're getting our second bag emptied. Hooray. We're almost there, kids. And I say that, but not really. Not even. We're about maybe 30-ish, 40% done, which is great. I mean, considering how little amount of time it's taken. Now this guy, the orientation is this way. Let's see, like that. So that's right side up, and the orientation of the board dictates that. I'm going to do that, drops right in, holding it in place and bending the legs. There we go. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, big bada boom. If you know, you know. And if you're wondering why, I'm sure you're not, but just in case anyone is, if you're wondering why I keep this painter's tape roll inside the ring, it is so that when I attach my, like when I'm not, I have a surface to knock things loose, and it doesn't magnetize the instrument, because otherwise it would magnetize by touching that, and it would stick. Just in case you want to know. If you didn't, well, now you know. Cool. Let's move on to the polarized capacitors. The polarized capacitors are going to be these lovely, lovely blue barrels of happiness. And I am a big, big fan. I believe these are called the electrolytic capacitors. I believe so. I hope I'm right. And if I'm not, well, correct me. That's fine. I don't really give a shit. A considerably larger capacity due to the construction methods for larger capacitors is necessarily polarized. The positive side has the longer leg. The negative side has the shorter leg. Right there. Okay. So we got the longer legs are the plus symbol, which is positive. And you can see all three positives are at the bottom. So positive, positive, positive. All right, so we'll start with C4. Haha. C4, C5, and then there's C6. Third of 5 bags becoming clear. And with these capacitors, you will see not only is it the longer leg, like in the instructions, right, but also the shorter leg has this skunk stripe, and that is indicative of being the negative. Yeah. Got all your information. 1 microfarad, 50 volts, boom. Negative, short. Pretty awesome. All right, so C4 and C5 seem to have the exact same 1 microfarad, so positive goes in, then the negative, push it down to the board all the way, and bend the legs. Rinse and repeat. Again, longer leg for the positive, shorter leg for the negative, all the way in, bend the legs. And C6 is 100 microfarad. Big difference between 1 and 100. Negative. In for positive, then in for negative. Push all the way down to the board and bend the legs. Now I'll solder that off camera, but as you can see, they're all flush to the board, and all 3 negatives are apparent from just looking at it. Lovely, lovely, lovely. We shall return momentarily. All right, we've got one bag left, and that is the LEDs. And as was previously stated in the instructions, the orange, the carrot orange, I believe is what they called it, is for the nose, and the two clears are going to be the white buttons. But look at that. There's all of our components cleared. By the way, I highly suggest keeping these bags, especially for something like all of your excess stuff. And look at that. All I did was bring the magnet over, and all three of the LEDs attached to the bottom of the magnet. And I'm that far from them. Strong magnet, strong magnet. But anyways, point is, any good quality bags, my suggestion, keep them. Keep them because you can store your stuff, and then they're easy, and it's all in one place, and it's clean, and it's done, so on and so forth. Right, so as far as the instructions go, light-emitting diodes, like the electrolytic capacitors, also have polarities and must be oriented correctly. The cathode, or negative side, is indicated by the shorter leg, and the anode, or positive side, has the longer leg. Insert the anode, longer leg, into the hole marked with the plus sign. Pretty simple. So, as you can see, well, now you can see there's a plus on the right, there's a plus on the right, and there's a plus on the right. So we are going to take the longer leg, right? That's the longer leg, obviously, and we're going to put it on the right. Anode. And cathode. I'm getting these flush to the board. I don't normally do that with LEDs, but I am doing that with these because it seems like that is exactly what it's supposed to do. So, cool. And positive and negative. Okay, cool. Cool. And then cute. Let's see. Right. Next, insert and solder each jack into place. Line up the lugs carefully with the holes on the PCB, then wiggle the jack slightly while gently pressing down. Do not force it into the holes or you may damage the jack. All right, Mark. Calm yo shit. It's good advice, though. Good advice. So we have let's analyze these real quick before we do anything silly. Because I don't see anything saying that one side or the other makes a difference. I don't see an input or an output, so my best guess is they are identical. That's great. Orientation is obviously the thing. And we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's going to be oriented correctly like that. And that will be oriented correctly like that. Okay. So let's do this on camera in case I mess it up. You guys can see what not to do. Wiggle it into the hole. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay. And that's what we're doing. We're wiggling. There we go. Okay, I see. Once you start feeling like a resistance, a pushback, start moving in this scenario up and down, and it will lock into place, pretty flush to the board, and then we'll start staking and soldering, making sure we're pushing down on it to get it 100% close to the board. Cool. Rinse and repeat. This one's nice and jacked up. And there we go. Interesting. They're not identical in orientation, which kind of drives me insane, but hey, who gives a shit? Right. It's solder time. Alright, now we have our input and output jack and gain potentiometer soldered in place. Everything good to go. I believe next step is the trim the wires to a suitable length and solder the black wire to the negative pad and the red wire to the positive pad. There are holes that can optionally be used to provide strain relief, i.e., so the solder joints don't get stressed if you pull on the battery cable. To use them, see the pictures below. Okay, yeah, okay, I see that. Okay, so basically it's saying we can go through here. I think that's right. And then come back through here. I'm just going to pull those all the way, make them like little stitches. Yeah, that way. Yeah, there we go. And then that will get soldered to the jack. Okay, cool. Nevertheless, there we have our battery. Looped through for stress, the connection point, and doubled up connection here. Let that cool off, and then we'll connect the battery to it. But I'm thinking, outside of cleaning it up and inserting a ribbon. Oh, the ribbon's for a scarf. What the fuck? Okay, so use the included ribbon to tie a band around the hat and give your snowman a scarf. Well, shit. I have returned. We have Q-tips for cleaning with the isopropyl alcohol. 70% is going to have to be good enough. And then we got the skizzers to make the wreath, or not the wreath, whoops, the headband and the scarf. And I'm guessing that's supposed to make it look prettier because of all the good stuffs, all the soldering points. So we'll see. We'll see. But first, before I do any of that, I'm going to any of the ribbon. I'm going to clean. Okay. There we go. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Now for the fun part, we test it.
All right, so here is that test for the Mark A. Stratman or Mass Effects SnowMan Distortion Christmas tree ornament. I can't say it with a straight face. The gain is all the way down. We have a fresh battery, and I'm just running it into the front of my standard pedal board, which is like the amp in a box kind of thing. The 2 Notes Revolt guitar on the American Clean channel, so black panel 65 Fender. We've got a bunch of stuff after it, but this is the cleanest that it gets. Let's turn that gain up. Yeah. night. I think that's definitely a win for a Christmas tree ornament. That sounds pretty fucking amazing. There you have it. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, etc., etc., etc. Hit me up with any questions in the comment section. Whatever. If you think I suck, cool. That's great too. If you want to send any emails, just go ahead and do bunkerbrigadepodcast@gmail.com. We'll go from there. I'm Spuds. Happy holidays. Be safe. Don't hurt anyone. And if you do, I hope someone hurts you. Okay, great. Bye.